Thank you all for attending today's presentation. My name is Dylan Legai. I'm the president of the Flagler Village Civic Association, and I'm here to present to you our current presentation titled as Flagler Village, Vision, Mission, and Action. We're basically going to use this time in our presentation to go through our neighborhood's vision, our neighborhood's mission, and our neighborhood's action. And we also will go ahead and organize this in the same organization, vision, mission, and action. So without further ado, let's go right into it and start with our vision. We have the Flagler Village vision that we want to establish and make sure we're upholding, right? Well, we don't want to reinvent the wheel for anything, so is there something else that already exists? Yes, there is. That's known as the Fast Forward Fort Lauderdale City Vision. And since the city of Fort Lauderdale hosts our neighborhood of Flagler Village, we absolutely want to tie into this vision as much as possible. The idea behind their vision is basically they organize the neighborhoods that comprise the cities and make up the city into 6 categories, and that's being connected, ready, having community, being here, prosperous, and of course united. We absolutely want to tap into this. Of course, there's going to be sections to us that are specific and different than other neighborhoods, but that's the beauty of this vision, is that it ties in all the neighborhoods and exposes different areas and different parts and sees how different neighborhoods can learn off of each other, work with each other, and make the city overall a better, more world-class city to live, work, and visit. Kind of idea that they work with here is they organize things into what they call the circles. And the circles are basically the 6 categories of the Fast Forward FTL vision, which deal with being connected, which talks about streets, public transit, being ready, dealing with roads and environment, having community, neighborhood improvements and homelessness efforts, being here with parks and community centers. There's prosperity with tourism and education, and of course being united with partnerships, fiscal responsibility, and so on. This is basically kind of how they've organized and structured the vision that goes all the way into 2035. This Fast Forward Fort Lauderdale has been approved to continue to shape itself over the years into 2035. And the way that they continue to stay on top of themselves as a city is to use these scorecards they've established. And this particular scorecard here is an example. And the idea is that more blue blocks are better. So more blue, better. And they're organized in different areas, and the city itself with their various departments will work to gather results from local neighborhood leaders, local businesses, local city officials, and stakeholders overall to see how these particular areas of the city are doing. And this can hold the city accountable to itself to continue on pace to maintain and fully operate in its vision. From there, I think it's very appropriate now that we look into our neighborhood and talk about our local vision. How do we properly tap into the neighborhood vision for us that then goes into the city vision? That is exactly what we need to establish from there, because we want to properly contribute to the city's vision. And that deals with 3 areas as well. And that's what I call a neighborhood that is secure, a neighborhood that is accessible, and a neighborhood that is dynamic. So we'll go ahead and go into some of that right now. What is a neighborhood that's secure in Flagler Village? Well, the first part of that, I think, goes without saying. Being in a secure neighborhood means you're in a safe neighborhood. You want to know you can walk around the area, go into events, and just have a good feel for your general well-being as a part of the neighborhood. Secondly, there's also an element of being secure knowing that you're in a permanent neighborhood. You want to be able to have, as a business leader, someone come to this area and say, yeah, you know, I could plan a business here. I could do my day-to-day work here. You can be an owner potentially here and say, yep, there's some stuff getting built here. There's some property for sale. I like what's going on here. I can plant myself here. Or even in the sense of renting, a long-term renting resident can be here as well. These are the ideas behind a permanent neighborhood, which plays into the secure part of the neighborhood. And thirdly, probably one of the biggest pieces of being a secure neighborhood next to being safe is being a diverse neighborhood. We absolutely want to be a neighborhood that not only is known for just one thing. We have a thriving arts community here, but we also have an up-and-coming green community that's happening here. We have a lot of fun things you can do here. We know people reside here and don't only work here, even though people do work here. So there's a mix of all kinds of activities and categories that are occurring in our neighborhood, and we like that. We want to offer a very diverse set of activities to take part in the neighborhood. This is basically the kind of idea of a secure part of our local vision of the neighborhood. From there, we want to be an accessible neighborhood, right? Part of that involves having a pedestrian-friendly neighborhood. We absolutely want to create that environment that you can walk around and have lunch right there on the sidewalk, given a lot of green space and open sidewalk area. So that accessibility is very, very key here in the neighborhood. Also, part of being accessible is having an open feel here too. So while there's a lot of development happening, which we support, we love it, we're all about it, we also want to know that there's open areas here too, such as a greenway, a park, a bike trail, things like that. So you have you mix it up a little bit and you keep things very open. And thirdly, we especially want to have a branded neighborhood. If we're going to be an accessible neighborhood, then we absolutely need to be branded. This involves monument design, signage, our digital and printed media that's properly strategically placed throughout the neighborhood and the city and even county at large that advertises what Flagler Village is about. This is the accessible part of our local vision for the neighborhood. Thirdly, we want to be a dynamic neighborhood. And what does that involve? That involves being an eventful neighborhood. We want to know that there are events happening here in Flagler Village, from city-sponsored events to private events to local neighborhood civic association organized events. We want all of that in the mix here because that's what makes a neighborhood go and move and have activity. In addition to that, there is an absolute item that we need to establish, and that's being a technological neighborhood. That doesn't necessarily mean we install free Wi-Fi across the neighborhood, but it does mean that we take advantage as a neighborhood of various technological advances, be it our own way we communicate, our own way that we organize things, going more paperless, still having some paper, but kind of having that push with paperless, using our apps, things like that. So we want to make sure that we are on top of that. And especially, a dynamic neighborhood is always an improving neighborhood. We want to always ask ourselves, ask our city members, ask fellow business leaders and renters and residents and owners and everyone that's in the mix of this neighborhood, how are we doing? What's going on? What do you think about this event that we did? What do you think if we did an event? What do you think what do you think about this area of the neighborhood? Do you have any idea that you could think about for improving this part of the neighborhood or something? That's absolutely something that we need to push as part of a dynamic neighborhood in our local vision for Flagler Village. So to recap, our local vision. It's a local vision that sports a secure neighborhood. It is a local vision that sports an accessible neighborhood. And it absolutely is a local vision that deals with a dynamic neighborhood. Now that's great, we've got our vision in place, but how are we going to actually put some definition to this snapshot vision that we've established? And that's where the mission of Flagler Village comes in. And the mission is very simple. This is where the definition comes in. We want to define it. And we basically have our primary objective that the Civic Association for Flagler Village deals with. And that is to protect and promote the best interests of stakeholders. And that includes our residents, our owners, our businesses, and absolutely to a certain extent our visitors who come in and take part in our activities and amenities of the neighborhood. Let's go ahead and outline that mission a little bit more. We see what the primary objective is and all of that, but we also want to go ahead and kind of go into what our further elements are within the primary objective. How do we satisfy that one line primary objective? Well, we want to establish and encourage community. We want to foster goodwill, cooperation, friendship. We want to assist current and potential stakeholders. We want to communicate resources and events. We want to ensure that set standards are met with our local building codes, our local police department, fire department, our local neighborhood recommendations, and city recommendations overall. And we of course want to promote the overall improvement of the neighborhood. And this is actually from our bylaws for the Civic Association, which we are absolutely in support of and want to uphold and improve on. So we get this mission, right? That's great. What are we going to do to actually put legwork to it and put boots on the ground and get moving with things? Well, we need to be involved. And that is basically the ultimate proper way that we can do this through our civic association and neighborhood is through committees, committees, and committees. We absolutely believe that committees are the way to go with how we establish and organize the details of the work and activity that goes on in our neighborhood. What do committees do? They communicate the wants to partners and investors that we're looking for a neighborhood at whole. They help to ensure that work is done properly. They also maintain accountability and transparency with our local organizations and workers and contractors and things that deal with work in the neighborhood. They will also voice the needs and desires that they have to the membership, and that's by presenting updates to members and especially presenting recommendations to members. And then members can vote on things, and we can establish local neighborhood efforts and get moving with that. So you see to the left, we have some committees listed here. This is a preliminary set that we're looking to fill, and of course, we want to go into them. Let's talk about them and detail them. First up, numero uno, number one, absolutely, is the Safety Committee. The Safety Committee is going to work with the Fort Lauderdale Police, going to work with the Fort Lauderdale Fire Department, Fort Lauderdale Building and Code Enforcement, and absolutely private security if efforts are made with private security. And this can deal with things from general issues in a section of the neighborhood to reports from the various departments that we can relay to members and all kinds of things that these organizations are responsible for. We from there have what's known as our Thriving Creative Arts Committee, and there's already a committee set of members here working, and it's growing. We like what's happening here, and we want to make sure we define that as well. What does this Creative Arts Committee do? Well, it especially maintains all types of creative arts events, initiatives, and monthly art walk, especially in our neighborhood. This is something that absolutely is key to continuing to grow our neighborhood and bringing lots of different flavors of people into the area to take part in the arts at large. Also, they are responsible to network the overall arts districts and projects that are going on. And there is a great list of various artists and sub-districts that happen in our neighborhood that are here. And we want to partner all together and really promote the neighborhood with our creative arts influence in South Florida overall. And of course, another key piece that the Arts Committee can do is advise developers that are building and improving the local buildings and amenities here in the neighborhood. They can advise them with various art and cosmetic details. Absolutely. I know a lot of developers I've spoken with are very open to that because it gives them a context and a set of an environment to work within. Another up-and-coming committee right now is the Green Committee we're looking for. There's a lot of work happening in regards to green efforts in Flagler Village, and that is something that the Green Committee absolutely partners with. They assist with the community gardening efforts. They're going to assist with urban farming efforts that are happening here currently, working with our parks that are happening and being established here in our neighborhood, and especially working with green initiatives that the city has established. And we want to make sure we communicate all these things to the local neighborhood and help to set up things to make things happen easier and happen in such a way that it organically occurs. And that is a pun intended. Of course, we've got our business and hospitality community. This is a key piece where we can work in this committee to assist attracting businesses into the neighborhood. There's a lot of buildings going up that have retail and commercial operation on their first floor of their buildings, of these multi-story buildings. Well, these are where we can bring businesses in and really find good fits and know what's in the know that's going on. And part of that also involves handling business memberships and sponsorships in our civic association and all of that. And we of course want to do this with the Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce and city initiatives. This Chamber of Commerce is right here in Flagler Village anyways. It's an excellent opportunity for us to really work with the business and hospitality community of Flagler Village through the arm of this particular committee. We can also learn from our business leaders and take feedback and figure out how we can make our neighborhood all the more business friendly. Another committee that we want to work towards establishing is working with the dining and entertainment venues of the neighborhood. And that deals with basically attracting venues. Again, with those buildings going up, there's going to be retail. We want to make sure that the retail spaces that fulfill the dining and entertainment areas of the neighborhood, we can really work with them and help set them up very easily and get them going and work with them, especially also joining the Civic Association in various membership and sponsorship opportunities. And of course, that also involves coordinating events/gatherings. Maybe there's something that we can put on for the neighborhood through a venue. Of course, a venue is going to like that because it's another opportunity for them to bring their patrons in and get activity happening there. So this is a very key committee to bringing some of that social environment and atmosphere into the neighborhood. A committee that's very contextual right now is the Design and Architecture Committee. There's so much building going on and things, and there are a lot of architects and creative professionals that also work in that industry as well, that do their business out of Flagler Village. So we want to make sure that they take part in reviewing plans for buildings that are going to be developed here in the neighborhood. And that does not mean we are the planning department of the city, not at all. Rather, we work in a preliminary stage with the developers as they prepare to submit their plans for DRC review and building department review overall and city commission review. We want to make sure that we can get all of our details and concerns that are part of that general vision, like pedestrian access and walkability and overall cosmetic detail. We can work all that out in the preliminary stages with these developers, not to be more bureaucratic or confrontational, not at all, to be more efficient and to help them to really capture the vision of the neighborhood as they invest their time and money into our neighborhood. It's a great partnership. We also want to work with them too for developments that deal with green spaces, gardens, parks, and things like that. If there's a farming effort that's going to happen, a community garden, parks, things like that, they can be a part of that planning process and design process. Of course too, there's also monument designs. Architects absolutely can design wonderful monuments that we can work alongside with and give input to our various city departments that help with the public works of monument design and things. This is where that committee can come in and give excellent feedback and interject very wholesome information that the city and various departments working with us, even the vendors, need to know, because we know what we're looking for that feel of the neighborhood. And of course also, this committee can partner with the Downtown Development Authority for Fort Lauderdale and various groups that they work with for local efforts, grants, opportunities that can help improve the neighborhood overall. Another very contextual committee is the Transit Committee. Flagler Village has a lot of transit activity going on in it right now. First and foremost, there's one known as All Aboard Florida and Tri-Rail, big effort that's happening here. And we want a committee with members that will deal with these organizations and help to iron out details and maintain communication and things like that. Also, another project that's happening is the Wave Streetcar project, and regardless of your views on it, it is an approved project that's going to happen. Well, let's make it the best we can with what we've got using our committee resources. We also have the Sun Trolley that will run routes through Flagler Village. We want to make sure we maintain a good line of communication and get the details out to them with what's needed. And of course, we're going to partner with the Fort Lauderdale Transit and Mobility Department, the County Transit and MPO, and also FDOT at the state level as necessary. There is a whole coordinated effort of transit happening here in this area of town, in this neighborhood. We need to be a part of it at our level and help provide these intimate details that they need to know to properly execute these projects. Another very important committee that I think kind of goes without saying is the Outreach Committee. And with the Outreach Committee, we want to be able to give back and partner with local organizations and initiatives. There's items of homelessness, education, overall improvement of the neighborhood. We want to be a part of that. Let's make sure we have a committee that can deal with these things and kind of be that funnel and funnel out the information, and also give suggestions to the city and various departments and organizations about what we're looking for in our neighborhood. We can give really good information and kind of nail it right on the head and give good feedback to them. Another item too is that we have our very awesome and known Friends of Flagler events. we want the outreach committee to maintain that. And that's our own local neighborhood efforts where we can help establish local neighborhood cleanups, assisting with various residents or businesses on some things. And that's an excellent opportunity that we can do in the outreach committee. And also, this committee will especially work with the Fort Lauderdale Neighbor Support Department. This is where we can get in with them and help set an agenda, set some details, give them information that they need for how to properly support us as a neighborhood. With all this said, with that, we need to talk about this stuff and get the word out, right? Well, this is where the communications committee comes in. This committee deals with getting all the other committees' activities and the general news of the neighborhood into a neighborhood newsletter. We want to be able to have a digital form and, of course, as necessary, a printed form of this newsletter. So this committee would work on managing that, getting articles written into it, content filled out, and probably some form of like a monthly newsletter sent out. Also, there's email and mailing lists. Communications committee works with that. And of course, it coordinates events with committees and members. So if another committee has some type of a party or an event that they're working with, they'll partner with the communications committee to figure out the best strategy to promote the event throughout the neighborhood, the city, and wherever else the information needs to travel to. That's where the communications committee comes in. So join a committee, sign up. If you are a resident, an owner, a business member of the Flagler Village neighborhood, please, we are asking you to join our cause. The more people we have, we can properly delegate things so it doesn't take up everyone's schedule, but rather we partner together and better network and better establish the detail and overall flow of our neighborhood so we can achieve that local vision, and then we can further contribute to our host city's vision. If you'd like to join, we really ask you to join as soon as possible. You can visit flaglervillage.org, and then you just simply right there on the homepage, click the Join Our Cause button link. That will take you right to a secure sign-up form with committee information and membership information. You just fill it out, submit it, and then we'll be in contact from there with you. With that said, thank you. Thank you so much for taking your time, your efforts, your consideration, and thoughts for our neighborhood of Flagler Village. We also appreciate taking the time to watch this presentation, and we of course want to welcome any feedback. If you have any form of feedback, questions, anything, just go to flaglervillage.org, and there's a form right there on the homepage. You can just type right in and contact us. Our phone number is on there. Our email is on there. If you want to email us offline at another time out of the website, simply reference that and send us all that information. Thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it, and we look forward to securing that vision for Flagler Village and the city of Fort Lauderdale. Thank you.